your experience? You've been an Army commander, you're the Vice Chief of Army Staff. What kind of coordination system do we have at this point of time between the Air Force, the Army and the Navy?
See, the system which we have is the Chiefs of Staff Committee system, which is the worst system one can have to fight a war or to take action during peace, because each chief goes there to defend his own service. So therefore, where is the question of coming to a decision?
Bedi, you also worked at very, very senior levels in the Air Force. You were also the DG DPS. Is this arrangement satisfactory in your opinion, the present arrangement?
No, I fully agree with General O'Brien. The Chief of Staff Committee system is not at all functional. As a DG DPS, I have been attending the meetings of the Chief of Staff Committee also. Firstly, as you rightly said, the three chiefs just don't pull on. Even the closest three chiefs of first JSW, and I was there that time, DG DPS, had never hit off well. So it's not a good system. I fully agree on that.
Brigadier Sidhu, what is the system that works at the ground level, and is it a satisfactory system?
Well, like I told you, basic thing is you should be able to provide the support when it is required, and you shouldn't be looking back or falling on somebody else's shoulders. And if you have to do that, then naturally the things will not work.
I think most of the coordination now between the two services is done at the core headquarters level.
No, not everything. Like for airspace management, it will be at the highest level in the command itself.
Okay. So you don't think at the ground level this is a satisfactory arrangement?
Ground level, unless the things are made absolutely clear, unless the duties are demarcated, the things will not function in the desired manner.
Marshal Bedi, how does it work in the other countries, let's say in the United States or in UK?
I'll just partially answer his question first. Coordination would perhaps work better. The present system of allocating air resources to the Army for close air support for any other role is, to my mind, not very adequate. It's the old World War II system that we continue to follow. The answer perhaps lies in dovetailing with the Army plans at the highest level of the air component. Like in Army, when you make your major plans, you have your armored, your artillery being inducted. Similarly, air power can be inducted at that level. At the moment, the system is, okay, so many sortie to this brigade, so many sortie to this corps, so many this. We are splitting the air power. It doesn't give you result.
But a lot of this would be required to be done at the formational headquarters level, no?
No, my point that I am raising, Kamal, is that initial planning for all offensive operation by the Indian Army must include in it the air power as an integral element. And so splitting air power into penny packets, 4 aircraft there, 2 aircraft there.
So is this how it is in, let's say, the United States?
It is like that.
And across the border in Pakistan or in China, how does it work?
United States has a slightly different system. Well, United States is a global power. Their commitment is global. They are more like expeditionary forces.
But what about our immediate neighborhood? How does it work there, let's say in China or in Pakistan?
Well, Pakistan following the same system. I'm not
same system of the present system that we have in India?
Yes, the same system.
See, the point of the present system is allocation of resources. The point is this: when any commander in the army, whether he is a divisional commander or a corps commander or an army commander, makes his plans, he is told, for this is your task, and for this task you will get so many brigades, so much artillery, so much aviation, so much this thing, etc. When we come to the Air Force, we are stumped. What is the allocation of resources as a div commander to me or as a corps commander to me? You ask the Air Force, oh, we will come at that time. Now plans cannot be made.
That's
1 second. I've had many fights with the Air Force on this particular point. The Air Force refuses to allocate resources in any manner. I said allocated in some manner. If you don't want to do it in sorties, you don't want to do it in missions, you do it in squadrons, whichever manner you like, but allocate resources. For planning, we need allocation. Thereafter, if you want to divert them to another more important task, do so. But give us allocation. They refuse to give it. See, the problem is this: the Air Force thinks, and unfortunately they started thinking more and more after the first Gulf War, and hopefully they've understood now, but I don't think so, that Air Force can win the war. It was first started by Douhet, long time back in the Second World War, but it didn't work. Many others tried it later, and they found that it doesn't really work. But no, the Indian Air Force says we will win the
Air
war.
Marshal Bedi, would you like to react to that? The Air Force thinks that it is the only force which can win the war.
No, I think there may have been that perception for a very short period after the Gulf War, but it was soon realized that you need forces on the ground. And Air Force is willing to support Army, as I said, the right way. At the present system, perhaps is very unfortunate. We need to modify this system the way I was just telling you, that right at the initial planning stage, the two services must get together and dovetail the air power as part of the offensive mission.
But
only for
Air
the
Marshal Bedi,
emergency
who
situation.
should be controlling, let's say, the attack helicopters? The Army or the Air Force?
Well, attack helicopters presently are being flown by the Air Force but controlled by the Army.
Okay.
In
They've been bought from the Army funds, flown by the Indian Air Force, but controlled by the Army.
And the Air Force refuses to hand over. See, you've been a tank man.
Not exactly. I come from a tank family, but I've never been a tank man.
Who knows more about the tactical
Absolutely.
picture in the battlefield? An Air Force pilot or an Army pilot? Obviously an Army pilot. We said the attack helicopters have to come back into the Indian Army as part and parcel of the aviation corps. Till today, the Air Force doesn't want to do that. Even though the present lot we have are pretty old, they are vintage, but even the new ones, and to top it all up, we are paying for it. I mean, this is a ridiculous state of affairs.
Yes, Brigadier Sidhu, during one of the recent exercises, I think there was a corps level exercise, something called the Army Aviation Brigade concept was tried out. I think 4 squadrons of choppers were deployed, out of which 2 attack helicopter squadrons, Me-25, Me-35 were used, and 2 helicopter squadrons for surveillance, air observation and casualty evacuation were deployed there. How did that experiment work?
Well,
Any idea?
I do not have that much of knowledge about this, but what I would like to bring out is that for this brigades, we have already gone into that. Army Aviation has already gone in for the aviation brigades.
Okay.
And like General O'Brien has brought out, it is, on the job training what you get. And by just attending couple of courses, etc., you don't get to know the real.
Just attending courses does not help, but
It doesn't
conversely,
help.
if the Army officers were to be deputed to the Air Force for such operations, will that help?
No, it will be same good old than AeroP. We will come back to the same thing.
You see, this Army Aviation Brigade was first mooted by me when I was in RTRAC.
Okay.
It's been accepted. It is very much part and parcel of the organization of the Army Aviation today. You have to have it. The trouble is we don't have enough. For mechanized formations, whether it's an armored division or a strike corps, you need much more of attack helicopters than the others. But the others also required attack helicopters. Earlier, there were 2 types of armed helicopters. One was called the gunships and one were the attack helicopters. The attack helicopters was purely anti-tank in nature,
Right.
whereas the gunships were extended artillery, which could give you fire support and so on. Today, the nomenclature gunship is not used.
Right.
It is all encompassed in the attack helicopters.
Right.
In between, when we didn't have anything, when no support was available, the Army Aviation mounted guns on their small elevates and
Chetaks and Cheetahs.
Chetaks and Cheetahs, which were called Ranjit and one other name. They're redundant. It is a nice toy, but that's all. The Army wants proper support, artillery, extended artillery support, fire support, whatever do you want to call it. And for that, firstly, attack helicopters, entire lot must be part of the Army.
Air Marshal Bedi, if the Army men, if the tank men understand the ground operations better, and if they also know that, so and so enemy tanks have to be destroyed, I think would it not be better for the whole operation to be given to the Army rather than the Air Force doing it for the Army?
It's again concept of close air support, whether with the help of fighters or with the help of armed helicopters. The whole crux of the problem between Army and Indian Air Force is close air support. I want to bring out a fact which I don't know how many of people know. When Indian Army wanted armed helicopter to be procured, the Army Chief gave a commitment to the Indian Air Force Chief that we shall not henceforth ask for close air support, you let us have the armed helicopter.
Okay.
And I must mention to you that one of the air chiefs soon after that stopped complete trading of close air support. But they say, no, our job now, Army had taken it over.
Sir,
So the problem, well, let me finish. The problem is the close air support. And once we sort that out, perhaps all problems.
No, I think
Okay,
it's
so
not,
we are running out of time. Lead us into yes,
This is
a
not
quick
quite correct.
comment from you.
can armed helicopters replace the close air support weapons?
there's no
Certainly
question.
not.
There's no question.
But you can't compare the
It's
two.
one part
They're
of
there.
it close air support.
General Oberoi, talking about the issue at hand, if structural changes were to be made, what kind of changes would you recommend?
So, firstly, the structural changes is the Army aviation must grow and grow to the level which are required by the second largest army of the world. You can't call it a second largest army of the world and then look for helicopters under the table. Where are they? You need that. Third point is that all aviation brigades, as the army has planned, there are some composite aviation brigade, there are others. They must be made available. Fourthly, special forces are neglected completely because of the air element not being available. It has to be integral. It has to be intimate. There is no other way of doing it.
Absolutely.
I-
Very
I
very
just
clear
want to
that
make one
there are serious differences. So now how should these differences be
I want to
resolved?
make one point on what
Yes.
he mentioned. I think in Army we are misconstruing integration as getting resources of the other service into your service. That seems to be the trend with the Indian Army, to which the Indian Air Force certainly reacts to it.
Now, Marshal Bedi, there are very clear differences between the two services. Now, how should these differences be resolved? Because the Raksha Mantri, A.K. Antony, has washed his hands off. He says he'll like to play a minimum role in all this.
I think we have enough examples around the world, air forces and armies, how they're managing their resources between themselves, how depending upon their responsibility, areas of responsibility and commitment, each country, each service has to evolve its own organization.
I think that's a diplomatic answer, but let me give you the answer
No.
which you are looking for.
Short.
In every country, the army has got its aviation not by talking with the Air Force,
No, not right.
but by the political leadership stepping in. In our case, the Ministry of Defence has a hands-off policy. They are abrogating their authority. It is their job to do so.
No, but
And to say,
The MOD will have to intervene and resolve
Yes,
the problem.
they have
Yes.
to.
I want to answer here one of your observations made. No army in the world has an air component other than armed helicopter and logistic helicopters. You take the United States, except Marines who got expeditionary role beyond continental America. UK no, France no, Germany no, Canada no, Australia no, India no, Pakistan no.
I think it's wrong.
No, it's not wrong. No.
You go to the internet,
Right,
you will
since
find
we have
it.
run out of time, thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me in this discussion. The issue of whether tactical air sets should be transferred to the Army or remain with the Air Force should be resolved in the background of the need for greater synergy and coordination between the two services, something which has been lacking in times of conflict. That is all in this episode. Do write your feedback. Next week we meet again with a new issue. Till then, good luck and goodbye. And for now, we meet at the bar.